everyone, it's Lexi, and today I will be doing a spoiler-free review of The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. And those for you who don't know, this is a book that takes place in kind of a future dystopian society in America, and basically this misogynistic kind of male-dominated government takes place and women lose all the rights to their bodies. So Offred is a handmaid, so she is essentially, her sole purpose is to produce a child with a commander who is kind of like part of the government there, and she's struggling a lot with kind of, does she kind of accept her fate? Like, she still has her daughter, like, because she grew up in kind of like our times, it was she's struggling with kind of just, does she let go and accept her fate? Like, does she fight it? Does she be like part of the rebellion and all of this stuff? So I think it is, I don't know, like it deals with a lot of feminist issues that have been brought to light, specifically recently, given like the whole like problem with like Trump becoming president and just kind of how women's rights have become kind of somewhat in jeopardy. So I picked this up actually because it was for Emma Watson's book club pick for the month of, I want to say, May and June. So I picked it up because of that, and I also because of the TV show coming out on Hulu. I don't have Hulu. I don't think I will watch the show. I don't know. I might. I don't know. I don't want to spend money on Hulu. But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, the reason why I picked it up because I did hear a lot of great things about this book and just how it, even though it was written like 30 years ago, the topics that it does discuss are still really relevant today. And I think that's really important to kind of look at and just kind of revisit these, because I think the biggest thing about this book was, I don't know, how like, even though it's a dystopian, like, so when you compare like dystopians, like Hunger Games, like it was a dystopian, but it did have that fantastical element into it. But then also for this book, it is a dystopian, but I can actually see it happening, which makes it really scary, I think, for me in particular, because I could see these things happening. And for like, I was reading the historical notes, and she kind of like based kind of this society of how historically what has happened to places where women's rights were slowly being revoked, such as like birth control was being like, they didn't do it anymore, women were slowly losing rights, and she kind of based it off of this. And so basically Fred, I don't know how to say it, is, so she's a handmaid and she's kind of struggling with this, and so she's remembering the years before, like when she was with her husband Luke, like she doesn't know what happened to him, and she kind of flashes back between her present day and then the past, where she was learning about all the handmaids and just like how to become one in a sense, and how you basically, like, it's really weird. Ooh. It's from a library book, my thing fell out. Like it says here, funny, unexpected, horrifying, and altogether convincing, The Handmaid's Tale is a once scath satire, dire warning, and tour de France. And that's what it is, a satire in a sense, but it's so realistic that I can see it happening. It is hard to read through just because it is a very dark subject matter, so I don't recommend reading this if you're maybe not, like, if you're not 16 or if you're younger than 16. I wouldn't recommend this just because it does deal with really dark subject matter, and I don't know, like, I know like it was very hard to get through, so it's hard because she just throws you in the world and you kind of have to figure things out as you go, so you're getting more details about it as the book progresses. In some cases I had to like look up what certain like people's positions were just to understand like what she was talking about. And she does this thing where if she's talking about like something that happened in the past, like a conversation, she doesn't use quotations to figure out what people are actually saying, and it'll be in like one paragraph, so you can't decipher between the character and the narrator. So that part was really hard, so I found that I had to reread a lot of the sections, like go back and reread it. Maybe I missed something, like I wasn't sure, but it was a little confusing on just trying to figure out like who, like, I don't know who said what, and it was just, that part was really confusing. But overall, like, I really enjoyed this book. It left a lot of like unanswered questions. I think especially it left like basically on a cliffhanger, because I was like getting towards the end of the book, I'm like, how is this ending? Like, there's so many unanswered questions. So I think it's interesting that it ended this way. Like, I don't know, I like to think in what actually happened. But yeah, it was I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The only reason it dropped a star was just the writing style was a little weird sometimes. But overall, I think this is a really important read for especially young women today to read, especially with everything going on within like Trump's America and like women's rights. It does shed light on some of the issues that have been kind of brought about because of this presidency, and just it makes you really kind of step back and see, like, you know, like, even though this is a dystopian novel, it is not far off from the present. And I think it was really eye-opening. This book is only like 295 pages, and then plus a little bit more with the author's note, but like, I don't know, like, I think this is something like one of the books that everyone needs to read, because I still think it's very relevant today in a sad way, in a sense that it's still relevant because it shows just how little women have like progressed over these years, and just how even how far-fetched this is, I can see it happening in the future, and that's a scary thing. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below if you've read this book, and so yeah, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.